Many classically trained pianists and musicians have railed against pop music because, well, it's basic, it's repetitive, it's simple. But when you look at classical music and classical forms, there's repetition there. I mean, let's take a listen to Beethoven. That part comes back a bunch in the piece Für Elise. There's a lot of simplistic nature to music, and that's not a bad thing, and it doesn't make one form or one style of playing better or worse than another. Now, I was classically trained from starting piano lessons at kindergarten through seventh grade, even through high school, because I switched to playing the organ for church when I was in seventh grade. But I've always loved pop music, and I've always been attracted to learning how to try to play pop songs. And I think that there can actually be a positive for classically trained musicians to play pop music. It is not beneath you to play pop music if you are a classically trained musician. In fact, I think it makes you a more flexible and adaptable musician. Let me explain. So, like I said, I started taking piano lessons when I was in kindergarten at 5 years old, and I was taught to play the notes that were on the page in front of me. That's what my teachers expected me to do. That's what I did. And sometimes I memorized that music too, but it was always what was on the page. Until I got to high school. And in high school, my choir director said, "Can you read chord charts?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And this opened up a brand new world to me. Because, sure, when I was playing pop music, I looked at what was on the page because that's what I was taught. And I saw those little symbol things up above, those C's, those D's, those AMs. I didn't know what that meant. And then my world was transformed. Because once I started learning about that and learning about music theory and the depths of chords and how all of this works, whoa, this was a game changer. Because what happened then is now, 20 years after high school, well, more than 20 years after high school, what I'm doing as a musician when I'm playing the piano is I'm not just solely playing what's there. I'm analyzing the chord as I go through and figuring out what I can leave out, what I can add in, what I can do differently to make it maybe a little bit more entertaining. And so I think that there is an importance and a necessity for you, if you are only classically trained, to try different styles. It may not be your most favorite thing, but I think that when you try different things, it makes you flexible. You think about parents encouraging children to eat their vegetables or try different foods because you don't want to eat the same thing over and over again. And why, even as a musician, would you want to just solely put yourself in that one little box of I am this? I mean, great. If that's where you want to be and that's where you're comfortable, fantastic. But I think for most of us in our human nature, we want to try different things and expand our horizons. Sometimes it's forced into us. But when we go through that, even if it's in the midst of kicking and screaming, a lot of times on the other side of it, we may be very thankful and we grow because of it. So, if you're a classically trained musician, get a lead sheet, get a chord chart. Try to figure it out. Or pick a song that you hear on the radio and try to test your ear and see if you can pick out what that melody is. Yes, I understand. A lot of pop music today is basically 2 to 3 notes and a whole lot of rhythm. Great! That means you've got a pretty basic foundation to start with. Find those 3 notes, figure out that rhythm, and do it. Or you could back up to pop songs from the 80s or the 70s or even the 60s where there's a little bit more complexity, and try those. Try it. You may be surprised at how much fun you have.